Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 117. To make a documentary is one thing. To make a feature film is quite another. Dennis Hopper.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to a Thanksgiving edition of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Now, today's show is sponsored by VideoBlocks. Now, VideoBlocks is a subscription-based stock media company that gives you unlimited access to premium stock footage everyone could afford. If you're looking for like extra exterior shots or things that you might want to incorporate into any of your projects, whether that be a narrative, documentary, music videos, commercials, these guys got you covered. They've got unlimited daily downloads from a library of over 115,000 HD video clips, as well as a huge selection of After Effects templates for like opening credits, motion graphics, titles, company logos, as well as motion backgrounds as well. It's pretty amazing. And on average, subscribers pay less than $1 per download in a course of a year. And the content does not get stale. They're constantly adding new content to the library every month. So it keeps it very, very fresh, and you always have something new to look forward to. And everything you download is 100% royalty free. Even if your subscription is canceled, you have unrestricted usage rights for anything you want to do, including personal projects and commercial projects, and you keep whatever you download and maintain the usage rights forever. Now, VideoBlocks is offering The Tribe a yearly subscription for $99. That's $50 off the usual price tag, just for you guys, just for The Tribe. That's less than $10 a month. So to get this deal, just head over to videoblocks.com/hustle. That's VideoBlocks, VIDEO blocks.com/hustle for this exclusive offer. And don't forget to go to freefilmbook.com. That's freefilmbook.com to download your free filmmaking audiobooks from Audible. So guys, for everybody in the States here listening to me, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day. For everybody else in the world, it's just another Thursday. But for here in the States, we like to celebrate Thanksgiving, which is what we're grateful for, and the celebration of stuffing our face with as much food as humanly possible, a very American thing to do. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit more interesting and more fun because I'm going to be doing something I have not done before in the past. I'm going to be doing more of these episodes in the future, and it's going to be basically a whole segment I call Ask Alex. I know it's very, very high-end marketing and very creative, but I wanted to kind of connect with you guys more and really answer the questions you have for me. So I've got our first series of questions by a listener in Sweden. His name is Kenny. Kenny sent me a bunch of questions in regards to his first feature film. So rather than just doing a long-winded email, I decided to sit down and just do a podcast and answer all the questions so everybody, all of the tribe can learn, hopefully, and take something away from these answers. So first question up is, what is the best type of camera to buy for your first feature film that is cheap? I know everybody does DSLRs, but is there anything else you can suggest? Also include lenses and where you can get them. Okay, so my suggestion, and this is a big thing. A lot of people ask me this question. My suggestion is Blackmagic, and again, I am not being paid by Blackmagic. Blackmagic is not a sponsor, but I love their cameras because of the amazing quality you get for the cost. If you're just starting out, you might want to buy a pocket camera, one of the Blackmagic pocket cameras. It's under $1,000. It's small, it's powerful. You can shoot RAW with it. It is only 1080p, but for your first feature, you should be fine. It is a very powerful camera. If not, you want to go up to the next level up, which is the Blackmagic Cinema 2.5K, which is what I shot Meg on, or the 4K. And if you want to go up a little higher than that, you can go to the Blackmagic Ursa. Now, these are all very affordable cameras in the grand scheme of things. I know $1,000 might be a lot for a lot of you out there, but it's definitely something you should be looking into. And you can get them used fairly inexpensively too. You could probably get one used for $400 or $500 online or on eBay. As far as lenses are concerned, the most affordable cinema lenses you can buy are the Rokinons, or the Rokis as they're called. The Rokinons are very inexpensive set of lenses that you can buy at $200 to $300 a pop for like a 14 millimeter. I think it's a 14, 24, 35, 50, and 85. I have a set of those myself. We shot a lot of Meg on that. But I also suggest getting the Sigma 18 to 30 millimeter zoom. That is a really, really great lens. It's very high end for the cost. It's a little bit pricey. It's around $600, $700, but you could shoot an entire movie pretty much on that. Most of the shots I shot in This Is Meg were shot on that lens. Very, very powerful, very affordable. But that's what I would suggest. I would not go DSLR. I'm not a fan of DSLRs, generally speaking. Sorry, all you DSLR lovers out there. I'm a post guy, and I know what happens when you take it into post. Please leave comments in the comments below and let me know what you think, but I'm not a fan of the DSLRs. I always like to make sure I have the best image possible when shooting something, and the Blackmagic cameras definitely do that. There are other options out there, but that's my suggestion. So, next question. What is the most important person to hire on a set? Is it a DP, a sound guy? What would you suggest? Well, a DP is a very, 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 very important member of the crew that you need to hire. I would suggest hiring a good DP, someone who understands lighting, someone who can shoot very fast and shoot on a budget. I don't want somebody sitting there for 6 hours lighting a scene. We don't have the time. We don't have the money. That's not this movie. And as far as sound is concerned, sound is so crucial, man. I can't even tell you. I was really nervous about the sound on This Is Meg, considering that I was basically doing the sound myself. I took a course, which I'll leave in the show notes, about how to record proper sound. And when I discovered it wasn't that difficult to do on my kind of film, which was a very dialogue-heavy, character-based film, it made sense to do it on an action movie or something that was a little bit bigger. I probably wouldn't do the same technique, but I find a good sound guy to work with. I'm telling you, it's very, very important. If not, if it's something small that's very controllable, a lot of indoor sets or indoor locations that you can control, getting yourself a nice Tascam and a good mic and somebody to hold a pole that knows what they're doing, you'll be amazed at how good the sound can come out. And I'll leave you a link in the show notes as well on a podcast I did on how to record audio cheap. Now, the next question he has is, should you have your film in English, even if it's not your first language? Your mother tongue isn't English, but he's from Sweden, so he wanted to know. My suggestion is this. It all depends on who you're trying to market this to. If you're going to have a bunch of people with very thick Swedish accents speaking English, I would say do not do English. I would do your native language. Because if you're trying to sell to an American or an English-speaking audience, then you should have clear, understandable English. Because if the accents are very thick, then the audience you're trying to sell to are really not going to be interested in it. So, perfect example was El Mariachi, Robert Rodriguez. He was born in America. He's an English boy raised in Texas, in Austin, and he went down and shot his movie in Spanish because that's how the actors he had access to, mostly of them spoke Spanish. So he decided to make the whole thing in Spanish, and it worked very, very well for him. So it all depends on who you're the demographic you're going after. If you're going after an English-speaking demographic, obviously try to shoot it as cleanly in English as you can. If not, it also depends on the kind of movie you're making. If you're making more of an art house movie, foreign might work a little bit better for you. And like Robert said, because he made that movie in Spanish, he says a lot of film critics and a lot of audience members gave a lot more weight to things that that didn't mean anything, but because they were in a different language, it gave it a little bit more of gravitas to it. So that's what I would suggest. Depending on what kind of market you're going after, will determine and also the access to the actors that you will have speaking will determine your decision in regards to language of your film. Next question is, what is the best format for your finished film? Generally, in the world of today, Apple ProRes 422HQ or Apple ProRes 4444 is perfectly fine and acceptable, and pretty much the industry standard as far as digital deliverables are concerned. Then we get into DCPs and all that kind of stuff, but that's something else. I would say the ProRes files are fine if you're looking for a tape format to master things on. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. I would go with an HDSR tape, which is a 1080p master, but it's something that you will be needing in the future for deliverables and things like that. But a lot of times the digital deliverables are more than fine. You can master that in 4K, 2K, and so on. So that would be my suggestion for that. Next question is, where should you spend your money in post-production when shooting your first feature film? Obviously, I always say the colorist because he should be getting, I think, the majority of them. No, I'm joking. Honestly, no joking aside, I think it's going to be your sound guys and your colorist. A creative editor, you could either edit yourself or find a creative editor fairly inexpensively nowadays. Even in different countries, it's not something that's going to be, you could edit it yourself, while a colorist and a online editor and a sound house or sound mixers or designers, those guys are going to be a little harder to find, and also something that you might not be able to do yourself. So I would spend your money on making the image look great and sound great, and that will set you apart from most feature films where they spend a lot of most low budget indie films that they spend their money in other places in post, where I don't think it makes as much sense. To spend a lot of money on a big editor, doesn't make a whole lot. Creative editor doesn't make a whole lot of sense on an indie movie. Because, at the end of the day, I mean, I've worked on movies that had like Oscar-winning editors on it, and they spent all their money on Oscar-winning editors, but they ran out of money in color and sound. And I'm like, well, what that doesn't make any sense. You're in a small indie movie. We're not talking about a $20 million movie here. We're talking about a $100,000 movie. So, you got to think a little bit smart about it and just focus on the image and also on the sound. Those are two very key points. So that's where I would focus most of my post-production budget on. This one's an interesting question. What is the best way to send a final edit of a film over the internet for sound editing and color grading? What I would suggest is you could probably send audio over the internet. Unfortunately, you will not be able to do that with the image portion of it or the video portion of it. You could easily compress down your entire movie to an H.264 MPEG compressed file, which will be 5-6 gigs at the most. And then you can send all your audio files over, which could probably be anywhere between 10 to 15 gigs, depending on how crazy it is. That would be that. And that's still pretty big, but you could probably get away with that over the internet. So if you're going to try to send it over to, let's say you're in Sweden and you're sending that whole movie over to someone here in LA to do your sound mix, which is doable, you could probably do audio, video or film, the film portion of it or the image portion of it. You're going to have to send a hard drive. There's no questions about it. You're definitely going to have to send a hard drive. And the last question is, what do you say about moving to LA if you come from another country? Well, the same thing. I mean, I did a whole podcast about do you need to move to LA to make it in Hollywood? It was one of my very first podcasts, and I just released it last week in the Throwback Friday release of the podcast. But what would be suggestions? Should you move over if you're from another country? Listen, I say the same thing I say all the time. LA is. I know a lot of people talk about Atlanta and Chicago and New York and New Orleans, and there's other meccas in the States that shoot film. No questions about it. Absolutely. But there is something about LA, and I've shot in many of those places, and I've been to many of those places. But LA is LA. Hollywood is Hollywood. And, there's so many resources here that you will not get anywhere else in the country and probably nowhere else in the world that has the condensed amount of people, knowledge, resources, facilities, things like that. You will learn more here in a month than you will in a year working in many places. Now, again, these are broad broad statements. Obviously, if you're working in Atlanta right now, which is extremely hot, and no pun intended, hot Atlanta, but there's a lot of production going on there, and a lot of films being shot there, and a lot of TV shows being shot there. You can learn a lot. There's a lot of shows being shot in Vancouver. I mean, a lot of shows being shot in Vancouver. So they turn into like these little mini Hollywoods, mini LAs. But what I've noticed and what I've found is that if you decide to move to, let's say, and I'll use my own hometown, Miami. Florida used to have a pretty good tax incentive. So a lot of people were starting to move to Orlando, starting to move to Miami, thinking that was going to be like a Hollywood or a Mecca, and they were going to go there and learn everything they did. And I know a lot of people who did that. But when the tax incentive ran out and they did not renew it, that industry completely dried up. So that was a big bucket of cold water for a lot of people that I knew that did that. You're not going to find that in LA. If the market dries up in LA, the whole system is going down to the hell if there's no work in LA. So I think that, a lot of movies are started here. A lot of shows are started here. The creative is here. The writing is here. Resources are here. No matter how much we might be shooting elsewhere, a lot of the home base is here in LA. So if you can come from another country and you can afford to move here, I would do it as soon as humanly possible. Every year you waste is another year you lose. And that was the biggest mistake of my professional career, not moving here earlier. It took me way too long to move here because what I've been able to learn in the last 8, 9, 10 years working and living in Los Angeles is just astronomical comparatively to what I was learning in Miami. And some of my best friends who still work in Miami and live in Miami are the first ones to tell you that. It is amazing what you learn in an environment like this. Like I said, the first year I worked here was like working 4 or 5 years in Miami. It was pretty remarkable. So if you can afford it, come out here. You have to have a plan. You have to have at least a year of living financially, money to live here for a year. And when I say live here for a year, it's not just enough to take rent and this. You're going to have to support yourself for a year. You're going to have to work for free for a lot of that time until you're able to break into a company or a production or team up with someone to start getting some pay as a filmmaker out here. So you need at least minimum 6 months, more healthily a year. That's what I did. I had at least a year worth of savings. I was lucky that I was able to get going pretty quickly, but it's something that you should definitely do, but be very smart about it. Plan things out. Think about it before you come out here. Try to make connections. Try to take meetings. Try to reach out to people. Do your research on where you're going to live, all that kind of good stuff. But yes, if you live in another country and you want to be a filmmaker and you think you want to learn a lot more about things, then LA is LA. It's no other place in the world like it. So guys, that's the end of this session of Ask Alex. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you got something out of it from my ramblings. But I have a couple other episodes coming up that are going to be from other tribe members who have sent me questions, and I am going to do the best I can to answer them. So if you want to submit some questions to me, just email ifhsubmissions@gmail.com. That's ifhsubmissions@gmail.com, and send me over a list of the questions, and I'll pick some questions to answer on the podcast, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your question and at the same time give that information to the rest of the tribe. So guys, I have some exciting news coming up. I can't say anything yet. It's not about the film festivals yet, so I'll tell you when and if we get into any festivals with Meg. So I'll let you know. But this is other news about my trip to Sundance, what I'll be doing there, all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm so excited about the new year. I can't even express to you how excited I am for what I'm going to be doing with Indie Film Hustle and at Sundance, what I'm going to be doing there. Again, I'm not in the festival. I'm not in Slam Dance either yet. Hopefully, we'll see. But I am going to be there. And we're going to be doing Indie Film Hustle is going to be in full effect, and we're going to be doing some insane stuff. So I cannot wait to share all the craziness that I'm going to be doing at the Sundance Film Festival this year. And hopefully I'll be there with a movie. But if not, at least you will get to see Sundance through the lens of myself and Indie Film Hustle. And today is Thanksgiving, but tomorrow is another holiday. It's called Black Friday, people. And I am planning on doing a huge Black Friday sale. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. For the Indie Film Syndicate, you're going to get a 1 month free coupon to test drive the Indie Film Syndicate. And because you're listening to this right now on Thanksgiving, I'm going to give it to you early. So all you got to do is head over to indiefilmhustle.com/IFS Friday. That's indiefilmhustle.com/IFS Friday to get 1 month free access to the Indie Film Syndicate. Now, if you don't want to jump onto the Syndicate, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't want to jump over to the Syndicate and you just want to check out one or two of our courses, head over to filmschoolhacks.com and you will get currently most of our courses. I'm going to say most because we have some masterclass courses and things like that in there as well. But most of our courses are going to be $14 for Black Friday. So you could check them out. Some of them run from $200 and some of them are $150. But all of our courses, most of our courses, are $14. So head over to filmschoolhacks.com to check out those. So those are our big deals that we're having out for Black Friday. And definitely go check them out, guys. See if there's anything that interests you. $14 for a course is not bad. Or you can get 30 days access to almost all of our courses for free. Heading over to indiefilmhustle.com/IFS Friday. So guys, I wish you, for all my listeners here in the States, happy Turkey Day. Don't eat too much because, being on set, you gotta be slender, man. You gotta be, limp. You gotta be able to move. Trust me, I'm not. So it helps a lot more when you're actually in shape. So don't go too crazy, but enjoy yourselves, guys. And I'd like to say I'm very thankful for you guys. I'm very thankful for all my listeners and for everybody who follows the Indie Film Hustle blog and all those amazing well wishes, emails of your stories and messages you guys send me. I'm really just so grateful that I'm able to help you guys out in my small way, get closer to your dreams, as well as see me try to get closer to mine. So guys, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.